What's happening? Benton here, rolling out of the motel here in the Ozarks in Missouri, as many of the locals call it. And headed on about a 2-hour road trip, although I tend to take my time and stop when I need to, and all of that, so who knows. Headed to the county assessor's office down in Arkansas, Baxter County, Arkansas. Register the old new car here. Shout out to the chat if anybody's here yet. We'll see. This used to be kind of one of my normal times, although I guess I was really, when I was truck driving, depending on the time zone, I was going live even earlier than this much of the time. And we'll see how the signal is out here in the middle of nowhere. Hopefully it holds up. Trying to get out of the parking lot. One thing about these Mickey Mouse cars, dude, these speed bumps are so tall. It really gives my car a problem. Trying to get over these things without tearing them up. Had a very interesting and lively live stream yesterday. For those of y'all who caught that. Highest number of views I've had in a while. What's up, Rob? Good to see you, brother. Just headed out for a road trip. I'm going to see my mama after I get my business taken care of. And go see Nana. I don't call her that, but that's apparently what her grandchildren call her. And I'm not very familiar with this area I'm in. I'm in the general vicinity of Branson, Missouri. General area. We're actually headed, where I'm headed right now is about approximately 50 miles from Harrison, Arkansas. If you type that into your YouTube, you'll see that that's Harrison, Arkansas has a reputation as the most racist town in America due to apparently the nearby presence of the KKK. And no video. I don't have a, well, actually I have one mount for a cell phone in here, but I'm using it for my navigation. So no, we will not be having video. Might drop the link later. I actually had a lot of thoughts in the last couple of hours. I've been getting, oh, you know what? I forgot my food, didn't I? Man, I hate when I do stuff like this. I know myself very well, so I'm in the habit of like double checking that I have everything I need before I leave, and believed I had done so, but in fact have not. So we'll be turning around and going right back, which will certainly will impact the live stream to some degree, since I'm not a good multitasker. This road, we've now almost left the town, so there's nowhere to turn around, and it's very hilly out here. You know, the Ozarks, the hills, man. See if we can turn around here. Stop drawing the attention of the authorities, although it is Monday morning, so it's still like Sunday night to a lot of people, right? It's so early. I've noticed the popo is usually does a lot of their damage over the weekend, and then by this time Monday morning, you know, until they report for duty. Monday, you know, later on Monday, you usually don't see too many of them. Especially riding around with these Texas plates. You might want to pull me over and see what's up. You just never know with these jackbooted oppressor thugs, as Mitchell has seen. And I do want to address, I forget the user, but there was, when Mitchell was live, actually, there's a lot of victim blaming, I've noticed. And you know, more or less saying, well, if Mitchell did not behave this way, then the police would not be harassing him. And I'll tell you, that's not true. People who live, more or less live in public 24 hours a day, as I did for 6 straight years, they do encounter the police no matter what they do. Mitchell doesn't have to do anything, believe me, to encounter the popo. He's most likely encounter, and in fact, he's approaching them much of the time, for what I've seen. However, regardless of his behavior, he will encounter the police, I can assure you. One of my famous police encounters was I was hitchhiking in Louisiana, which I don't recommend to anybody. In fact, I believe that was the only time I've ever hitchhiked in Louisiana, was on that particular trip. I think I was general vicinity of Lake Charles down on I-10, I believe. And there was a dog running loose. And, I had the big backpack and I fit a certain profile just sitting out there, trying to hitchhike. And it was, usually I get picked up very quickly, and usually I will just continue to walk if I'm hitchhiking and they don't pick me up. But in this case, I was just chilling out, seeing what was going to happen. And some dog was running around. So, and here's what happens when you're living in public and when one is living in public and is living an out of the ordinary existence, what happens is the general public calls the authorities on you regularly. Like, I'm saying, if I'm just trying to avoid and I'm not trying to get into any sort of beef with the popo, 6 times a year the police were called on me. That's not an exaggeration. And in fact, that would be on the lower end of things, I would expect. So someone decided that, well, that must be the dog of the person hitchhiking, and he's just letting it run loose. And we have leash laws, right? The dog's just running around. Meanwhile, I have nothing to do with any dogs. So Louisiana state trooper shows up and wants to ask me questions about this dog. And I'm just, at the time, was just kind of out there and just didn't give a fuck, even more so than now. And was a lot more aggressive, maybe, since I wasn't ill. I still had a lot of my muscle on me and my strength. And I more or less just told him to fuck off. I don't have a dog. I don't know what you're talking about. Leave me the fuck alone. And I could see, based on his reaction, that he was seriously considering just whooping my fucking ass right then and there. Like, you could just tell, like a man to man. It's like, oh my God. And Louisiana, dude, they don't believe me. If he just whoops the shit out of a Louisiana state trooper, especially back then, just whoops the shit out of a transient, nobody's going to give a fuck, I assure you. And he'll probably charge me with assaulting him. So I just immediately threw myself on the mercy of the officer and was just like, hey man, whatever we got to do, man, I'll just full cooperation, And he almost was like embarrassed after that, because I guess he took me as somebody who was just going to cuss him out and, give him a lot of problems. My thing was just like, bro, I don't have nothing to do with dogs, man. And then once I came to understand that somebody had called the police because of a dog running loose and had decided that it was my dog with no proof. Let me close my mouth here. I'm back at the motel. Hang on. And I used to do a lot of public speaking when I was living that way. And as JG liked to point out, no, you are homeless. So I used to say when I was homeless, but when I was living similarly to Mitchell, where I was, in public 24/7. You want to talk about being up on stage? I mean, there's a certain effect of just, nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide. It's like just, and believe me, well, or don't. It's up to you. But a lot of people, anything out of the ordinary, their attention goes directly to whatever is out of the ordinary. And I especially noticed this in the country, if I was hitchhiking through the country. And I eventually figured out that a lot of these country folks, especially in farming communities, they have and maybe Yurt could relate to this, I don't know. And I think this is the way that they keep each other in line culturally, is any behavior out of the ordinary everyone just stares. So my experience in the country was literally every person that drove past me would just stare at me. I mean, like turn their head and stare. This was every single person. And eventually it got to where I would just stop walking and I would just very animatedly just stare them down. And that was the only thing that would, then they would become a little ashamed or embarrassed and then look away. If I didn't do that, it was just, imagine just walking a highway and all day long, every single car that passes you stares you down. And so, you know, I'm not speaking for Mitchell, but I must assume that he's JG as well, that they have a lot of these same experiences. And you know, especially in modern America, Janet Napolitano, you know, see something, say something. Like the people have been instructed. Anything out of the ordinary, which is what suspicious means, by the way. And for some reason, people think that suspicion is against the law, right? You know, that must be reported to the authorities. So numerous times I was in public on a sidewalk in a town or a city and using my unamplified voice to deliver some sort of discourse. And someone walked by who I was not addressing. And by the way, all roads lead to narcissism. Just go out into public and start talking and notice how many people just assume that you're speaking directly to them. It's like, well, wait a minute. What have I done to indicate to this person that I'm talking to them, right? But this is how they interpret it. So furthermore, in the touchy-feely era of, you know, all feelings are valid and all feelings are facts, many people really believe that if they hear me say something and they feel some type of way about it, that they get to call the authorities. Now, in some way, they're right, because I've had the authorities show up, and I'm just like, hey, man, I was pretty sure I'm not breaking the law here, which I knew I wasn't. And they're like, listen, if somebody walks by and feels some type of way, meaning threatened, about what you're saying, then we are going to arrest you for disorderly conduct. Now, we can sit here and talk till we're blue in the face about how that's legal and not legal and lawful. Do you think those cops give a fuck about that? Why would they? And meanwhile, look, I don't want to be critical, but I know for a fact a portion of the audience of pretty much any internet live stream, whether mine or somebody else's, a portion of the audience does not leave their home, even before COVID, but then wants to talk to me like they have some idea of what. Until somebody's gone and lived in the streets, you don't have any fucking idea what you're talking about. And again, my apologies, I don't mean you, the listener. I just mean generally. A person cannot know what that's like until they go and do it. So we can blame Mitchell's behavior. It's not his behavior. His behavior is making it worse. That's certainly the case. I don't think that's debatable. But he could be on his best motherfucking behavior 100% of the time and still be approached by the police on a regular basis. And like I said, for me, it was a minimum of about 6 times a year that just a person called the cops on me. This isn't even talking about the times that a police officer noticed me and then just decided to go fishing. I've been walking the highway out in the middle of nowhere in East Texas and had them just pull up to me. Hey, what are you doing? Acting like they're my friend. I just looked at the guy and said, hey, I don't want to talk to you. What? I don't want to talk to you. See, that they're not used to this, right? So how did I create this situation? Oh, I guess I shouldn't put on a backpack and walk down the highway in a supposedly free country. See, we can blame Mitchell's behavior, but we can trace it back far enough to where it's really not him. It's the country. But meanwhile, I'm supposed to put up with and observe literal hoarder shut-ins, because that's who says these things, by the way. Somebody who says it's all Mitchell's fault, which some of it is. It's not entirely his fault. And see, this also impugns to the system. It puts the system in a place of being above reproach, where the system and it's the jackbooted oppressor thugs, they don't ever violate somebody unless the person's done something to bring the violations upon themselves. And I reject that I reject that out of hand. I think it's a bunch of nonsense, personally, and from my own experience. That's a bunch of nonsense. I've had them try to pull all kind of crazy shit on me. It's just I've always, as a strategic thinker, I know how to communicate in such a way that I'm not incriminating myself, right? By the way, all of this, am I being detained? It's a bunch of horse shit. If I'm not in a vehicle and I'm walking, there's no version of am I being detained. It's, hey man, I'm headed that away and I'm going to keep moving unless you tell me I have to stay here and talk to you. Which, by the way, they don't ever want to answer that question. Why? Because legally, if they ever have to, when they fill out their paperwork, and whenever they, they have to go to court and testify, they want to be able to say that I was free to leave and that I just chose to stay there and talk to them. See, it's a whole different ball game if they made the determination that I'm not free to go. And what I've noticed is I have to just force them to say that I'm not free to leave. And in fact, numerous times, it's gotten down to where I've said, well, listen, since you're not telling me I have to stay here, I'm leaving. And then I turn to leave, and then they say, well, okay, you're not free to go. And then I verbalize it. Then I say, okay, if I'm not free to go, that means I'm being detained. And the last time this happened, I pulled my phone out, I started the timer on my clock, and I said, well, according to what I understand, you've got around 20 minutes to conduct your investigation, which, by the way, I have nothing to do with your investigation, and I have I don't say this outright, but I'm implying, look, I'm not going to cooperate with your investigation, whatever it may be. And furthermore, since I know I've done nothing wrong, whatever you're investigating has nothing to do with me, because these cops like to say, oh, well, we just want to clear this up, and then imply that it's in my best interest to clear it up. And I'm like, well, what's that have to do with me? Like, how does that benefit me for something to be cleared up when I know I've committed no crime? And I think many people just have no understanding of these dynamics strategically. The more I can just put everything back on the officer, eventually they're just going to give up most of the time. Now, if they're determined to violate my rights and beat the shit out of me and take me to jail, that's what they're going to do. But funnily enough, that's never happened. And in fact, I did get arrested exactly one time living in the streets, and it was because I shot my mouth off. And what happened after that? I no longer shoot my mouth off as far as personally, saying because you guys may have noticed I have a bit of a sharp tongue. So now I'm more respectful now, right? Because I don't really, I prefer not to be dragged off to jail, even though ultimately nothing really happened to me as a result other than I spent a weekend in jail. And I was so homeless at the time that and it was the dead of summer, so it actually temporarily improved my living situation to go to jail. Imagine that. That's how we call that homeless as fuck, by the way. Yes, indeed. So I may have been cleaned up, and now I have money in my pocket, and a CDL and all of these things, but I'm still that person. You can take the man out of homelessness, right? You can't take the homelessness out of the man. Once a person adapts to that lifestyle, there's no going back, in my experience. I will never be like the rest of you to some extent. But then again, what does the Bible say? Birds have nests, foxes have dens, and the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head, right? Like this isn't my home anyway. It's like, I'm homeless really no matter what, if you think about it. I ain't from here. I ain't staying here. And then let's move on, since I do have a bit of a head of steam built up here. Let's move on to the Fed Up Southern Girl. So if anybody's curious about this, there was a time in which me and Drew and EBT were going back and Tinfoil to some degree, were beefing and going back and forth. And there was a live stream where I was in the live chat, and these guys were wanting me to come on the Discord. This was before the StreamYard era. And I was not on the Discord, and I was not going to make a Discord account. I deleted my account. I was not going to come on to the Discord. But they're wanting me to come on and, come on up and answer for yourself, this type of thing. So during all of that, Fed Up, but I was making videos in response, right? On putting them on in fact, that's how this channel kind of got going. It was birthed out of that back and forth. So Fed Up Southern Girl, who did not have a dog in the hunt, by the way, she decided to get involved and shot her. And I don't like bossy women. She's a bossy woman. I personally have never liked bossy women. And if anybody's got a problem with liking a bossy woman, that's your problem. It's not my problem. I'm not, meanwhile, we're conservatives and we're traditional family values, but Benton, disliking a bossy woman is somehow out of bounds. No, it's not. That's how I was raised. A woman's not supposed to boss a man around. That's the culture I grew up in. If a woman wants to run the show, back then she had to do it covertly from the submissive position. This is a woman who has been fed up Southern girl. She's been permitted to go around and dominate all these males. Well, a man ain't a man got a woman for a boss, lady, and it's not going to happen. And I'm reading her comments, and she's talking to me like Drew talks to me when he's joking with me or when we're not getting along. But he's a man. Yeah, it is a double standard, ladies. I will let Drew talk to me that way. Meanwhile, Drew's actually enriched my life in many ways. Fed up Southern girl's never going to do a damn thing for me. Ever. She never has, and she never will. Oh, but she'll show up on my channel and try to boss me around and make it seem like I'm somehow doing something wrong. No, I'm not. I'm not under any obligation to listen to her cunt mouth. Why would I let her on my panel to shoot off her cunt mouth that I don't appreciate? And if anybody hears me use that terminology, we're not going to get along in the long run, because at some point, Benton will express himself this way. And anybody doesn't like it, I encourage them to go somewhere else, turn off your station, because on occasion I will express myself this way, and there's nothing wrong with it, men. And when we talk about all this death of masculinity and the way the world's gotten, this is part of it. A man is not supposed to tolerate really anybody. Who weren't willing to stand up to her, right? And her standard line was, "My dick's bigger than yours." Come back from or recover from. So one day I went into the men's bathroom. There she is, right in the men's bathroom, and I just made a comment. Here she comes, trying to be all aggressive and dominant. And of course, I'm just, I'm very. She didn't like that. But now, why didn't they figure that out? Fed up Southern girl wants you to believe I'm what's between her legs. Well, listen, fed up Southern girl. If you're looking for one of those, I don't think you got to reach your hand very far, do you? It's right there. And what really, and people say, "Oh, Benton's triggered. He's this and that." No, listen, I'm not supposed to take this. I'm not supposed to take this kind of treatment lying down. And I know how this sounds. So my favorite part was I was bringing up somehow it got to college football, I guess, because she's also a Southerner. Although I saw her on a live stream. She looks like a small hat to me, and I didn't hear no Southern accent. I haven't heard a Southern accent, but I think she's LARPing as a Southerner. I don't think her people are from the South. Now, maybe there's some small hats who moved to the South to economically take advantage of the locals. Maybe her family, figured out a way to fleece some unsophisticated knuckle draggers, right, over time. Maybe that's a thing. I don't know. But it got to college football, and she decided to start going in on Arkansas, right, where I'm from. Well, what she doesn't realize is that my grandfather is one of the most famous Arkansas Razorbacks of all time. And in fact, is an SEC living legend. So you can just Google SEC living legend. You can go to a Wikipedia page. There's my grandfather. They had a fucking ceremony for him at the halftime of an SEC game. So that's my genetic. You know, you get on a good rant, and of course you get disconnected because we're out in the middle of nowhere. And unfortunately, since I don't have a way to mount the phone, I was not noticed until just now that I was disconnected. Although I have perfect signal, so I'm not really sure how that happened. But anyway, we're back. This is a very windy road. I've got to try to see if I can stay on the road. Thank you for hanging in there. Again, I'll just continue. I have no idea where it worked out, so please bear with me. Children. Like that's the way it used to be, ladies. And I think the ladies understand this at some level. I think who doesn't understand this is the fellas. I don't think the fellas really understand this. All right. Like my dad's 6'2", broad shoulders, you know, his dad was famous, you know, the whole thing, right? My dad was a success. Say that the ladies, you're not being rude if you have to stand up to a lady. The lady's being rude for putting you in that position. I don't give a fuck what I look like by checking some mouthy broad who's trying to be aggressive towards me. I really should never encounter female aggression. It should never happen. Meanwhile, where's her man to come? Where's her man to come take care of all this? If, let's assume I wrong her in some way, why ain't you got no man to come do this for you? See, you think my women have ever had to go up against a man? Never happened. Reminds me of ex-wife number 2 came home one time, and hell, I was drinking wine. I think I had the day off drinking wine. She came home from work, and she had she's a smoker, stopped off for cigarettes. And some sheriff's deputy was out there. My ex-wife number 2, I used to tell her she's very flirty, very easy to hit. Some of these cops, their way of trying to flirt or hit on a lady is they use their official capacity. And they actually ask for her ID. And she comes home and tells me this, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? I get in my car. Meanwhile, after drinking, dude drove right up to the gas station and went right up to the deputy and said, hey, man, that girl that was here, you asked for her ID? That's my wife. I said, listen, you want to talk to her, that's fine. That's fine, man. But you're not going to be out here in your official capacity asking for ID, but meanwhile, you just want to flirt. I say, we're not doing that. I said, you're going to deal with me. Now, here's the thing is, and the dude apologized and completely backed down, right? He didn't have nothing to say to me. Why? Because he was wrong and I was righteous. Oh, it's no, it's not about it. It's about standing for what's right. See? And I don't even like that phraseology, stand up. But not on my watch. I don't fuck with my woman. And I told him, listen, if you just want to holler at her, that's one thing. But what you got to be in a uniform and muddy the waters to where she thinks she might be in trouble. If you got game, spit game, brother. Don't do it out here with a uniform, pulling over. And she wasn't even in, driving. She drove up to the store. But, some of these guys pull these ladies over and just to have an interaction. Talk to an attractive woman, they'll tell you, especially in some of these smaller country areas. So that's my job to do that, see. That's part of being a man, right? But I can't be that and then let some mouthy cunt boss me around. So I'm not supposed to like bossy women. And meanwhile, if you're a male and a woman can tell you what to do, you're not a man. Period. Period. If a woman can tell you what to do and you ain't got no option and it's not your choice, you're not a man. Why? Because a man is a status that's attained through action. A woman is a woman because she's got the parts. And that's the primary difference between a man and a woman. A woman's a woman because she's got the parts. A man's a man or not a man through his actions. And we had actual rites of passage. I passed from boyhood to manhood. I attained that status. Nobody can ever take that away from me. That's how it works. And women, you have no version of that. And by the way, women, how a woman is considered as a woman has nothing to do with honesty or integrity. Doesn't exist. Literally doesn't exist. But for me, as a male, it does. As a man, part of how I view myself as a man is based on my own code, and part of that is honesty and integrity. A man's word is his bond and all that. Like, that's a real thing. But women have no concept of that, which is why when they get into some kind of a bind, they can just say whatever they want and just blame somebody else. Well, I can't do that and still be considered a man. Not if I'm being observed over time. It's called reputation, see. Women have, it doesn't make a woman bad. It doesn't make them less than. And by the way, that's why we'll never be equal. Men and women cannot be equal. It's not possible. But back to the conversation from yesterday, that's what a lot of all of this trans stuff is about. Is we're gonna the males and the young males and the young females are gonna meet in the middle because we're gonna shoot up a lot of the young gals with testosterone, and we've attacked the young males at the level of their testosterone. Because I don't know if y'all know this, but testosterone, there's no crossover between men and women. Assuming that a person doesn't have a medical issue, the males who make the least testosterone still make 3 to 4 times the amount as the women who make the most testosterone. There is no crossover. And that's why you will never have a woman who's the best, a person born a female who, nowadays you got to be specific, right? Will never be the best poker player in the world. Why? Because their body cannot produce enough testosterone. And if you shoot them up with enough testosterone to equal the testosterone levels I had, even into my late 30s, early 40s, the side effects are too severe, right? There will never be a human being born a female will never be the world chess champion, solely based on they cannot produce enough hormones. It's not possible. And if you inject them with enough hormone to compete with a Bobby Fischer, the side effects are too severe. Has nothing to do with intelligence. Nothing. When 2 men compete, generally speaking, the one with the higher level of testosterone will win. It's just how it works. So how is a woman going to compete? Well, a woman can only compete if the man or the male is dumb enough to assist or consent to being in otherwise with behavior by acquiescing to society saying that, well, if he behaves this way, that now he's oppressing a woman. Well, I grew up in an environment with nothing burgers. Now, if a woman behaved some type of way toward me, she was wrong. If she behaved towards me and I had to check her, I'm not wrong, she's wrong. She's in trouble, I'm not in trouble. Oh, but now in 2020, the live data revolt based on Benton's behavior. And I just said, listen, if y'all what I've done, there's the door. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Because I don't want you around. I got no problem with people who don't want to be around somebody like me. Hey, I'm all for freedom. You don't want to be around somebody like me, that's fine. But I'm not doing anything wrong when I call Fed Up Southern Girl a cunt. And when I say I don't like bossy women. That's truth, by the way. It's the so-called truth community. We want to stand on truth. The truth is, Benton don't like bossy women, never has, never will. Not supposed to. Anybody don't like it, not my problem. There's the door. Don't need you. And like Paul might say, wouldn't want you on my team, right? I can't have guys like that around. If you can't stand up to a broad, how you gonna stand up to a man, right? And that's what a lot of these feminists don't understand is, yeah, feminists claim the space, but you can't have space. I've already claimed this space, and y'all ain't strong enough spiritually, strong enough mentally. You might be strong enough physically now that I'm withering away to nothing, right? But you're not strong enough mentally or physically or spiritually to take my space. But I understand there's a whole lot of males who never became men who will let you dominate them, feminists. But they need to teach the feminists every once in a while, you're going to run into some 47-year-old on the bayou on the edge and it was socialized in such a way that you will whoop your ass if you become physically aggressive. See, that's the thing is, they say, I was raised up with this, never hit a woman, never hit a girl, I never did. But listen to this. They were socialized not to be towards me. See? This modern age, I tell you what, I'm already physically attacking people. I'm at 0% physically attacking people. If I ever feel like I have to become physical, what's between somebody's legs will not factor in at all. If I feel like I'm threatened and now I need to do something, now I need to assert myself physically, the composition of the genitals, I won't even think for a second. taller than me and got bigger shoulders than I do, and feel like they could. And this was even before I had my illness. You know, I was 5'10", like say 180, 185, right? Some of these broads 6 foot broader than me and weigh about the same. Maybe they weigh 175, right? Maybe they feel like they can push me around. I just told them, I said, listen, if I feel like I got to assert myself, you ain't gonna get no mercy because you're a lady. I said, I'll knock you the fuck out. Now, I didn't say this to a specific woman because I know that could be construed as a threat. I said it generally. I said, I'll knock you the fuck out. And then I'll just stand there and wait for the police. And the police will show up and say, what happened? I'll say, you see that lady laying unconscious on the ground? She became physically aggressive towards me. And I felt like my only recourse was to knock her the fuck out. Now, take me to jail so I can go tell the judge what I done. And I'll go see the judge. I'll tell the judge exactly what happened. I'll say, now give me my punishment. And I'll tell you what, again. And then I'm going to come back and see you again. She's not supposed to back away towards me. See, that shows you how lost we are. That shows you how lost we see. That shows you how lost America is as a country. It's over, y'all. You can talk about MAGA, mom and apple pie, and American exceptionalism and traditional family values till you're blue in the face. It's a wrap. It's over with. It's gone. It's not coming. It ain't coming back. Rest in peace, mom, apple pie, American exceptionalism, and traditional family values. I'm a traditional girl. No, you're not. No, you're not. You want a traditional woman? That's an Amish woman. dropped off, but see, the lady knows I will do all of these things, and they can detect that in me. And I'm telling you, when the shit got weird with the fake pandemic, especially when the nationwide riot, these women started looking at me totally different, especially the ones in their late 20s and early 30s. Because oh, wait a minute, maybe I do need a man. See, they've been indoctrinated and taught their whole life, you don't need a man. And you know what? There was some truth in that. Yeah, you don't need a man, lady, unless. And we were on the verge of that unless now, weren't we? Oh, wait a minute, maybe even though this guy's not the most physically imposing character we've ever laid eyes on, we can just somehow detect that it's in him to do these things. And not only will he do these things without hesitation, part of him wants to do these things. See, that's in me, and I'm tapped into my masculine identity. I'm tapped into it, and in fact, I was socialized to be tapped into it. It's not an accident. And I can tell you, every single male where I grew up passed into manhood. So everybody from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, who's approximately my age, we're all men, every single one of us. Now, maybe some of us are more of a man than others, but we all passed that test, see, because we had to, or we weren't accepted. We could not join the tribe. We would have been cast out. We would have been ostracized. See? We had no alternative. We had no choice in the matter. So surprise, surprise, we all done it. Why? Because it's in us anyway. Now, the fact is that these males today, they've been disconnected from that. But I don't give advice, but here's what I would tell the really young males, 20s, early 20s, late teens, early 20s. Males, if you decide to become a strong man, can't nobody stop you. Meanwhile, toxic masculinity. I've asked this question. Nobody's ever answered it. How come it's not toxic when a big, tough lesbian does it? Because when a big, tough lesbian, and I've been to Seattle, y'all, there's plenty of big, tough lesbians that probably could kick my ass. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Yeah, I could probably beat up most women. And I don't fight, by the way. I'm a pacifist. I don't even believe in physical violence. But yeah, there are big, tough lesbians in Seattle who can most likely whoop my ass. Okay. But here's the thing is, you can't stop a big, tough lesbian from being a big, tough lesbian. So, no matter how much resistance I'm going to face, regardless of the fact that I'm not going to be supported in this endeavor, I'm going to become a strong man. Nobody can stop you. Because that's your nature, Mr. Beal. That's your nature. And see, as an adult, especially as somebody who's, on some spiritual shit and has been for probably about 15 years now, I didn't have to work on expressing through a dominant or a yang or an assertive or a masculine form. My growth primarily came through manifesting and asserting, not asserting, but through utilizing a feminine or a passive means by learning how to get the fuck out of my own way. By learning the people who believe that Oprah nonsense of The Secret with respect to the law of attraction, they didn't recognize the part where, the opportunity presents itself, and now it's time to go into the assertive masculine yang form, and now we got to grab the bull by the horns and dominate, whether we're male or female. See, you can't. It's not just we've got a vision board and now just everything unfolds. In a feminine form, which is fine, but now that the opportunity shows up, now it's time to utilize the masculine form. And I've become an expert at this. And I manifest all sorts of things for myself all the time. I've been doing it effortlessly for many years now. But part of that is when it's time to seize the bull by the horns, I have to do that. I'm going to I wait around another day. And now maybe that opportunity's right off down the road, possibly never turn. See how it works? And Tommy, I don't care if you agree. Agree or don't agree, you're not on my level, Tommy. Why? Because you lack morality, Tommy. You're not on my level. Therefore, you don't have the credentials to address how I live, Tommy. You literally don't have the credentials. Now, can you get yourself right morally? I don't know, because I've never been in your position. Why? Because while I have fallen morally to some degree over time, I've never allowed myself to fall to the level you have. You've fallen below an acceptable level morally, Tommy. You just have. Now, you're still here. It's never too late. But you have to get on my level first to address me, sir. And that's why you also can't address Paul, even though you can talk better than Paul and you can out-argue Paul. You do not have, forget the moral high ground, you don't occupy the moral equal ground. I'm morally superior to you, Tommy. Get on my level, sir. That's what I would say. So not only do I not care if you agree, if you did agree, I feel like I'm probably not living right. If Tommy's singing my praises, I'm probably not living right, from my perspective. See how it works? And that's where I'm not even going to argue with Tommy or go back and forth with him. I'll just always bring it back to morality. You failed, Tommy. You failed. Are you really ready to stand before your maker in judgment? Oh, well, Tommy, I can't answer for Tommy, but hey, well, that doesn't exist. Well, you don't know that, Tommy. Neither do I. It may very well exist. You have no fucking way of knowing that. So I'm living as if that does exist. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm ready right now. And I'm not manifesting this. I'm saying what could happen. Something could happen to me today. I'm not promised tomorrow. I have no way of knowing I'll be here tomorrow. This could be my last day in this realm, in this incarnation anyway, this present incarnation. I'm ready to answer for what I've done in this life. Are you, Tommy? Are you ready to answer? I am. I'm ready. And in fact, part of me is kind of wishes it had already happened. Why? Because I beat the game, and people don't like to hear this. That's fine if people don't like to hear it. It's not my problem that they don't like to hear it. A certain high number of individuals, hundreds of thousands perhaps, were born into very similar circumstances to myself in the time and place in which I was born. And see, people misconstrued my recent comments. I'm not referring to myself as a unique fucking snowflake here, Dick. What I'm saying is, if this is a simulation, and I believe it is on some level, the simulation ran many trials. Let's say that let's just be conservative. Let's say the simulation ran 100,000 trials. Well, I'm the one out of 100,000 who transcended the limitations I was born into. Now, I think it's probably millions. So I am that one. Now, I don't care how you like if you like how that sounds. I don't give a fuck. If you don't like how that sounds, too fucking bad. Whatever my energy came to this place to accomplish through raising the level of my vibrations, through evolving my energy, my spiritual energy, I have done that. It has been completed. Now, am I here as some kind of, to serve some kind of purpose as a vessel of the Most High, to empty myself that I may be filled with the Holy Spirit? If I can be used in that manner, use me, Lord. I have no way of knowing what that's going to look like or how that manifests. Maybe I'm doing it right now. I don't know. But I know this, Tommy could come against me till he's blue in the face. No weapon formed against me shall prosper, brother. Why? Because I already have become that thing. See? You can't do nothing to me but kill me, and I might want that. This world can't do nothing to me but kill me. If this world could defeat me or destroy me, it would have done so by now. Now, it came very close about 9 months ago. I'm not going to lie to you. It almost did destroy me. But here I am. Here I am. Praise Almighty God in the mighty name of Christ Jesus. And see, I'm on fire. I'm vibrating with the Holy Spirit right now. And if you don't like it, too bad. Because that is what's happening. And that ain't truth. That is manifested truth. That's what I say. That's what I mean when I say truth is manifest. It's living. It's in flow. It's moving. It's not a written scripture. Written scripture is a dead thing. Why? Because written scripture is not growing and changing and moving and evolving. Now, it changed over time, but that's not what I'm referring to. It's dead. Therefore, the written Bible cannot be the Word of God. It's a misappropriation. That's a misunderstanding. That's why I won't call myself a Christian. These Christians act as if in the beginning was Word, and they want to say that means written Bible. Oh, there was a King James Bible floating in space in the beginning, I guess. Is that what you'll have me believe? No, it's a sound vibration. The Word. Funnily enough, that's how I'm communicating with you folks right now. Ain't that interesting? The Word. Meanwhile, Revelation chapter 19, starting with verse 11. The Word of God coming out of his mouth like a sharp sword. Interesting. But I'm not here to preach on the Bible. But I am a preacher, so I do preach on occasion. But meanwhile, I'm such a high-level preacher, I know to keep it few and far between instead of trying to turn it into my whole fucking life's purpose and identity. And start a church and all of this. No. Because whatever y'all do or don't do has nothing to do with me. This is a holy individual spirit experience, W-H-O-L-L-Y, not Talcott's holy. W-H-O-L-L-Y. This is a holy individual experience. Spiritually, what y'all do or don't do has nothing to do with me and my salvation. If that's even a thing, which it may not be. But this has to mean something, and I know it means something. I know it does. I've experienced it. And if people don't like how it sounds when I claim credit for beating the game, that's fine. But go out here and find another Benton. And I don't mean with Benton's characteristics. Somebody from the South grew up in the Jehovah's Witnesses, blah, blah, blah. But even then, there's several thousand of those, I'm sure. But we can extrapolate out far enough. I'm literally the only one who's transcended those limitations. Who was born into, generally speaking, what I was born into. And that credit accrues to me. That's how it works. And if somebody feels less than because they haven't done that, not my problem. Get on my level. Because how you feel about Benton is your problem. It ain't my problem. Now, if I'm dumb enough to let it become my problem, then it is my problem. But I'm not. Never have been. Came out of my mama like this, by the way. Now, I know I do have a certain amount of different personas and such. I'm observant enough to detect all that. This is as close as to the real Benton as I can show you, right? This is about as close as I can get to the real Benton, what you're hearing right now. Or the most authentic Benton. Because the most authentic Benton don't give a fuck what you think about how Benton lives. And however, I don't care about y'all's feelings. I really don't. I have regard for you as a human being because part of being a human being is some level of compassion and regard for my fellow human beings. Beyond that, I have almost no regard for you, any of you. Why? Because this is all about me, just like it's all about you from your perspective. I'm supposed to be almost entirely self-interested. And this is where me and Paul do align, because I've heard him make similar comments. You know, I behave as a good person. I do that for me. I don't do that for you. See, I help people all the time and don't even hardly ever talk about it, but I don't do it for them. I do it for me. Do you think the person who I just helped gives a fuck why I did it? Or do they care that they were in a bad situation? And, oh, by the way, hundreds of so-called Christians drive right by and see them in need and pass right by and don't help. Might drop a few dollars on them, might bring them something to eat. But I'm saying people that could resolve their situation don't, right? But here comes Benton. Benton sees the problem, sees that he can help, and just does it. Just like with Mitchell the other day. And it wasn't any big thing, but I screen capped that interaction and uploaded it to my YouTube channel so that if the police had been receptive, he could have, while he was live streaming, he would not have even had to end his stream. He could have been like, hey, I'm going to email you the link to the video. And they could have just watched it right there on their phone. Of course, as we saw, the police are not going to work with Mitchell. Mitchell, the police, especially in that area, are never going to work with you. It's never going to happen. Now, I understand Mitchell may say, well, that's on them. Yeah, it is on them, Mitchell, but they're still never going to work with you. It's your choice, brother. But I've been able to access a level of humility where I'm able to interface with the jackbooted oppressor thugs in such a way that I can get what I need to get out of the interaction without trying to settle their hash, by the way. And that isn't it. You are attempting to dominate them in some way, whether you see it or not, Mitchell. You are attempting to dominate these people. They're not going. You cannot dominate them in this way. You can be right, but you can't. And you cannot inflict that upon them. You cannot force your righteousness onto them. Why? Because we have free will. This place works based on free will. They have every right to be the lowly, wretched creatures that they've shown themselves to be. They have a right to that. If they want to accrue that karmic debt, and I don't even really like to talk in those terms, if those jackbooted oppressor thugs choose, that's their right. They have every right to behave that way. You have no right to force them into righteousness, Mitchell. It's not appropriate for you to attempt to force them into righteousness. It's not appropriate. If they want to be scum, let them be scum. That's on them. It's not on me that the cops are scum. It doesn't reflect on me. That's them. They can laugh at me and persecute me all they want. Doesn't reflect on me. Fed up Southern girl can try to portray me in a certain light that don't reflect on me. But yeah, you can always sway the peanut gallery, which is what started to happen, by the way. Why? Because this is human behavior. And I am a lay expert in human behavior. And I just saw it happening and said, listen, that's fine. If you guys want to resonate with Fed Up Southern Girl, just follow her out the motherfucking door, because she ain't welcome here. Based on her behavior, by the way. Now she's more than free to repent, but see, she can't lower herself. See, she can't lower herself to do that. She's not able to, because she lacks humility in that way, which is fine. That's her problem. It's not my problem. Meanwhile, I'm fucking awesome. So, bye. Meanwhile, did the numbers drop after I made that declaration and drew my line in the sand? Did the numbers drop? No, they didn't. They sure didn't. Why would they? Because, see, we love it. Humans are, we are powerfully drawn to somebody who just lives and, and isn't swayed by, and I am swayed by people's opinions in certain ways. I mean, in those moments when I live that way, in those moments, people are powerfully attracted to that. Of course they are. So people want to laugh and joke and make fun of me as if I can't get a woman. You think I can't go out here and get a woman? Well, maybe I can't, because I never really went out and got the ones I had before. They more or less got me. Now, they did it through a passive, submissive means, because that's how they were socialized to behave. But, I wasn't really looking for a wife or a girlfriend. I was looking for that thing between Fed Up Southern Girl's legs that she tried to accuse me of being. See, I am what I eat, Fed Up Southern Girl. Delicious, by the way. Delicious. Yeah, I am that. See, Yeah, if you call me that name, I just say I am what I eat. So I don't know what to tell you. Uh, Meanwhile, that phase of my life's over. But I do think it says a lot about other people that they're so with their romantic, endeavors or lack thereof. Look, I've already done that. Intercourse with females probably over 100 in my life. I'm not. That's not an exaggeration. Ex-wife number one, 3 day every day for the first year. That's just right there. Now, 100 that would be a bit of an exaggeration, but hell, I don't know, 50,000. I'm 47. I started when I was 15. So from the age of 15 to about age, so what's that, 25 years? How many days is there in 25 years? I averaged more than one time a day for all of those years. I can guarantee you that. So, uh, yeah, however many that is. Why do I need to keep doing that? It's like, man, not that it's like kind of like cold pizza, right? It's like it never truly gets old, but I don't need to continue to consume cold pizza, right? If my life no longer aligns with that, why do I need to keep doing that? That's the way I look at it. I'm just confused by it. Part of that is I have no interest in other people's lives in that way. Never have. I have zero interest in how other people live. Yeah, I do. There's part of me that enjoys culture. I might get involved in some of the tabloid type of stuff with famous people, just taking it in as entertainment. But like people I know in my daily life or people I encounter in the metaverse, I have no interest in what y'all got going on or don't have going on in your relationships. Now, I will say I had a little bit of interest in the Jeffrey stuff and whatever his lady's name was. Some of that, and O'Shea was involved in some of that. Some of that was somewhat interesting, but at a certain point it became repellent. At a certain point, I was just like, look, this is fucking gross. And as much as I have engaged in some out of the norm behavior, I'm more prudish than I am not. Believe it or not, I'm pretty vanilla when it comes to those sort of things. There's been a couple of different times when I literally could have had two girlfriends. It's just, yeah. If I was trying to feed into my ego, yeah, oh, look at me, look at this thing I can do. But I'm not really into that as far as just the sexual gratification part of it. I never really needed to go that far with it. But when people don't realize this, when I met ex-wife number two, she immediately introduced me to I was very much in the field at that point. Strange, huh? Strange how that worked. Probably could have dated both of them simultaneously. Went on some outings that could very well have been considered with both of them. You were a day or two attractive women. That's who you're into. Because really, it's not that big of an pretty much anybody, any man can do that. I don't think it's a big deal. Well, and by the way, here's a reason not to get a 5G phone is most of the reason why I kept getting disconnected is when it switches from 5G to 4G. It drops the connection. And then a few minutes later, it switches from 4G back to 5G. This is a reason not to have a 5G phone. Because actually, if I should have just used my hotspot. It's a 4G hotspot. None of this would have happened. And if you're going to do what I'm doing, as far as live streams, traveling around, driving around, especially in the country, you pretty much have to have two carriers. Because I started out on T-Mobile, now I'm on Verizon, but now I don't have to have my GPS for navigation because now I know where I'm at. I wonder. I don't think this place is even open. I was going to go in here and get a cup of coffee, but I just stopped. I stopped only because figure out how to reconnect to the live stream. But yeah, I'm not under any obligation to tolerate. I'm pretty tolerant is what it comes down to. And I think sometimes that gets misconstrued as, well, you can just behave however you want and Benton will put up with it. No, he won't. I'll put up with a lot. I'm not putting up with that. Meanwhile, we've had plenty of ladies around these parts, and they don't seem to have a problem with me saying I don't like bossy women. But then again, they're not bossy women, so I guess maybe they don't. I can't speak for them, but maybe from their perspective, that's not really their problem. That Benton doesn't like sassy, bossy women. Well, sassy I kind of like. It's the bossy. Well, by the way, just go boss somebody else around. I really don't like them bossing me around. Ultimately, it's just not cool, man. I wasn't raised that way. I don't have to put up with it, and I'm not going to put up with it. Meanwhile, she's free to fuck off and go continue bossing around the men in her life. Oh, I'm sorry, the males. Because remember, if she's the boss of them, they're not men. So who suffers, by the way? She suffers because she's got no men in her life. Now, she can laugh and say, oh, you're crazy. My man he does this and he does that. Yeah, but you're his boss and he's not a man. So you don't have a man, fed up Southern girl. Because you're in charge of him. Why? Because he's probably got mommy issues. Well, guess who don't have daddy issues? Benton. Guess who also doesn't have mommy issues? I've never been a mama's boy one day in my life. I love my mom. I'm going to go see her later today. I've never been a mama's boy. And honestly, me and my dad really weren't that close growing up. But he was there to provide me what I needed to be provided with. And I don't just mean food and shelter. Because you think I'm crazy now? What do you think I was like when I was 15? Fucking lunatic. I'd be dead or in prison if it wasn't for my dad. I'm thankful. I'm grateful every day that I had who I had for a father. But he thought he was going to dominate me and impose his will on me one day when I was 15. And we squared off, and he had 100 pounds on me. My dad's big, scary, strong as a fucking ox. Guy could have wrapped one hand around my shirt and thrown me across the yard. The guy got me backed up against the wall of the house, wanted to try to dominate me. I showed him that I was the most mentally strong person in our household. Because I am. I've always been more mentally strong than my father. Ever since my testosterone kicked in, I'm stronger minded than him. Just how it is. I was willing to fight that man to the death versus have him impose his will on me. And it was all over. We were taking a road trip, and he's not very good at dealing with his emotions. And he's most likely got this classical narcissism like Talcott. And when they get their panties in a bunch, they want to go to try to take their emotions out on somebody. And he was trying to take it out on me because he never liked that I would wear headphones and listen to music when we went on a road trip. Meanwhile, we were going to some Jehovah's Witness convention. So he thought he was going to tell me not to wear my headphones. And I was just basically like, yeah, man, I'm wearing my fucking headphones. I don't know what to tell you. And he was already mad about something else. He got me out there and tried to physically got me up against the side of the house, and I just made my stand. And guess who backed down? He did, because he was going to have to kill me. Because Lord knows I couldn't have won the fight, but I wasn't going to stop. That man would have had to put me in the motherfucking hospital. And my dad's a very kind, gentle person. Otherwise, he wasn't willing to do that to his son. But it was over. It was over with for me. It was like this stops today, sir. And it was all unspoken. That's the best part. See, that's the best part. Guy could probably still kick my ass. Not even kidding. So what? My mind's my weapon. You know, what do you do with that as a parent? I don't know. I'm not a parent. Never have been. It's not in my path. So I can't speak to parenting. I don't know nothing about that. But I ain't here for it. But you know, I'm not here to police people's behavior. I'm just not going to have it in my life. See, somebody like Fed Up Southern Girl, that's fine. She can go be however she's going to be. Just go somewhere else. You're not welcome here, ma'am. And anybody that doesn't like it, probably this is not the channel for you. When I say whose house, our house, well, it's not your house. If you think a woman should be able to come in here and boss me around and be a cunt, then this is not your house. Then you need to go find your place because it's not here. So that's really all I have to say about that. And I think Kim Before the Storm is probably going to make some kind of video about, you know, what Mitchell went through with the jackbooted oppressor thug. So I'm hoping he does. You know, Kim does seem to have a certain ability to get a lot of views on a video. So we got that to look forward to, right? Might have to drop the link, and unfortunately, where the phone is in the car, I can't read the chat at all. I just can't physically see it. I'm not set up like I was in the big rig. And man, I honestly don't even know if I'm going to be able to go back to work. It's funny. I woke up this morning, I felt so horrible. I'm thinking, well, there's no fucking way I can work, but now I feel fine. But the thing is, I have no idea when I'm going to feel like complete garbage and when I'm going to feel fine. You know, that's the problem. So I might have to try to find a way to make a living online. Now, I don't think it would be this channel necessarily, but dude, I got to figure something out. I got to live, man. You know, especially with how much food costs, all these supplements. Now, I am going to cut probably about half the supplements out, but you know, I need a certain amount of money to live on, right? Now I got this car, hell, just that's $90 a month in car insurance. And I know how people's minds work. It immediately jumps to, oh, well, my insurance is this much and that much and this much. It's never going to be less than this for me. If I pay for the whole year up front, I can get it for about $76 a month. That's as cheap as I can get it. I'm smart enough to figure that out. We can debate why that is. That's just, it is what it is. I don't live like the rest of you live. So part of that is my car insurance costs more. I don't know why, but it does. Probably my credit rating in part. See, I'm in, you know, I'm in this position where, you know, in trepidation. I know JFK Beta really, he liked that word. He made a video more or less about that word. When I watched that video he made, I said I could tell he liked that word because I've experienced a lot of trepidation. If you wonder what I mean, just look up the meaning of the word trepidation, based around how I'm, you know, with my illness and, you know, having to make. Well, look, we all got to make money. We all got to live, right? So, you know, in some way, I'm learning how to deal with just living in that space, just accepting it as part of the human experience. That, yeah, of course, I'm experiencing some level of trepidation, you know, fear and loathing, right? But so what? I've experienced it before. The only way out is through, you know. So I will, you know, I will move through that. It's fine, you know. I'll figure it out, right? But I don't know. But then I understand people's brains. People want to be helpful. They want to go into problem solving. They want to make suggestions. But yeah, the thing is, I have one of those brains in my head also. Like, so I've already thought of all those things that you're going to suggest. So now it's just annoying, right? So that's fine, you know, make suggestions, but realize, well, these suggestions, Benton finds the suggestions annoying because Benton's already thought of all these things. I live very differently than most of you live, which is fine. In part to maintain my own sanity, which I do a very good job of maintaining my sanity. That's my job. Lord knows I can't trust this mental health system to do it for me. They will certainly get me strung out on a bunch of psych meds and make a profit and put me on this, give me a diagnosis, and then, oh, here's your $760 a month for your SSI and all this, right? Only after making me wait a couple of years, so that, because that's a scam, so that so a lawyer can get involved, a lawyer who has a relationship with the judge, so that the judge can finally give me SSI, which I'm never even going to apply for ever, and say, okay, well, you're entitled to 2 years of back pay, and then the lawyer gets to take whatever percentage of the back pay, right? It's a whole scam. That's how it works. That's why they reject almost everybody immediately when they apply for it and make them wait. Well, some people just give up. Well, I'm never going to apply. Why? Because I recognize that in the future, when the next fake pandemic pops off, if I'm dependent, and this is I think what Talcott will never understand about the government money, is when the shit does pop off, the next fake pandemic, and they do decide, they could very well say, okay, well, Benton, if you think you're going to keep getting that however much money a month, well, you're going to have to take this injection. Well, I'm never going to take the injection. So why would I become dependent on their money to live? And now they can hold it over my head and try to force me in. Why not just live that way already? That's the way I look at it. Because if I'm really going to say no to an injection in the future, and then I'm going to turn down the money, well, if I'm capable of that, then why not just do it now? Why not and just never go on the money? Because Lord knows I could go get a diagnosis and get on SSI. I don't think that I could have done that years ago. But see, now I'm not whole on paper. And people like Mitchell can say, oh, you're concerned about this system's paper. Yeah, I am, Mitchell, because I live in this system and I'm a product of this system. And no matter what I do, part of me will always identify with this system. Because my psychology was formed in this system. I am the system to some degree, whether I want to accept that or not. When they say be the change you want to see in the world, that can only happen through me accepting that I am, in fact, on some level, I am the system, whether I want to be or not. That's truth, by the way. That's manifested truth. I don't like that. I know what I am. And when I'm about to go to the government and the county government and register my property with the government and under laws that were written for commerce, but I'm not driving my car for commerce most of the time. Although in some way, I guess I really am. Like I could justify it on some level. It's certainly part of me earning a living, but I'm not dependent on an automobile. I was driving a truck, for commerce just fine without owning this car, right? But I don't have a problem with it, but I certainly understand the whole kept pet slave version of it. But see, I know what I am. I am a slave on some level. Because that's what I was born into, this system. And this is a system of slavery. It's other things also, but this is a system of slavery, which has convinced us that we're free. Not only are we free, we're more free than anybody's been ever. Solely based on when and where we were born. That's how diabolical this thing is. And it is diabolical. And see, now I got somebody that wants me to go faster, and they're tailgating me. And see, most people, when you get up close to them and they're driving, they speed up. Benton slows down. Because I don't reward bad behavior, and he's not supposed to be tailgating. Now, if he drops back, I'll speed back up. But until he drops back, we're just going to go 45. Because he doesn't control what I do. But he thinks he can, because most people are weak-willed and don't even understand what's going on. And if you start riding their ass because you want them to go faster, then they speed up. Meanwhile, what I've observed is the same person who wants me to speed up, if I just pull over to the side and let him pass, Pretty soon I catch up to him and he's going the exact same speed I was going. Why? Because he doesn't want to risk getting a ticket. But if he can get me to go 15 miles over the speed limit, then he can ride behind me and I'll probably get the ticket. You think I don't know what's going on? But if I'm dumb enough to let him control my behavior and then I get a ticket, whose fault is that? Is that his fault? That I was so unaware or so weak-willed that I let him control my behavior? This person behind me? And it happened to me several times when I was driving from Fort Worth to Missouri, where people felt like they were entitled to make me speed up. Well, I'm already going 5 miles over the speed limit. And then they get up on my bumper, I slow down. And then they get closer, I slow down more. Pretty soon we're going 40. And they act like they don't understand. But every once in a while, one of them is smart and realizes, oh, if I just back off, he'll just go back to how he was driving before. See? Meanwhile, guess who never tailgates anybody? Unless it's heavy traffic. Me. Why? Because I live right. I live righteously. I live properly. And I'm not supposed to try to go out here and tailgate these people and create a dangerous situation. We're the only two cars on the road. This guy shouldn't be anywhere near me. Meanwhile, here's the passing zone. Do you think he's going to pass me? Of course, he's on TikTok. I mean, we know what he's doing. He's on TikTok, right? You know, he doesn't even know what he's doing. He doesn't even know he's in a passing zone. I had to pull over to the shoulder and damn near stop to get the guy to go around me. And then now he's cruising at slower than I was going. See? And then these are the people I share the realm with. So forgive me for not wanting anything to do with these people. And forgive me for not thinking, oh, we can just wake these people up and we can fix the dystopia. These motherfuckers can't even convey themselves from point A to point B intelligently. And you think you're going to wake them up and fix a dystopia. You're out of your fucking mind if you believe that. You're as crazy as they are if you believe that. And I don't mean you, the listener. Please forgive me. I'm really not talking to y'all. I think I'm saying things that y'all agree with, and really you don't hear people say very often. I'm probably kind of speaking for some of you in this moment. These bozos like Quantum Epic, who thinks, and you are a bozo on some level, Quantum Epic, if you're thinking, if you're listening, if you really think you're going to go out here and spread information, spread awareness, pick up, and start doing the right thing, and how about you catch up to the rest of us and realize that shit ain't never going to happen. Now, some of these individuals might get their act together. Guess what? You'll be involved. And if you are involved, Quantum Epic, it will probably be because the Most High chose to use you in that way. But it probably won't be because you said some words and gave somebody some intellectual knowledge. This is an information age. We've all got access to the level of information required to figure this shit out. The fact that the masses are not figuring it out in spite of the deluge of information shows me that it's not, the lack of information ain't the problem. The intellectual is not the problem. It's the alignment of intellect, spirit, and body, mind, body, and spirit. And we only operate, on my view, at the low, whatever the lowest link in the chain is, right? Now, the physical, in the modern era, the physical is arguably less important. But the physical certainly influences the mental, as we know. Of course it does, right? So my mind absolutely operates better when I physically, especially at the level of my diet and my nutrition. And people talk, like Paul's been playing a lot of this Wes Watson, and the clip yesterday was about diet. And I'm here to tell you, ever since I've come to understand my health issues that I've had for at least 15 years, ever since I've accepted that and I've become as physically sick as I've become, I cannot eat anything that even halfway approaches junk food. Guess who doesn't crave junk food? Guess who doesn't crave pizza and potato chips and candy bars and sodas? Benton. Guess who used to? Benton. Do you think that's a coincidence? My body now understands, oh, we can't tolerate those foods. So I know this, if somebody just says, hey man, starting right motherfucking now, if somebody says, I'm never going to consume these bad foods, you can do that. Now you can say, oh, but I like this and I like, yeah, I also like all that stuff, but it's no longer an option for me. And on some level, that mind, body, and spirit. So when I go in the store, I don't ever just pick up a Snickers bar. Well, I used to. Okay. Now, I will say I do on occasion crave alcohol, but I've noticed that seems to be situational, such as when I bought this car on this road trip, is I used to drink on a lot of my road trips, and not in the big rig, in my car, road beers, whatever. See, all I did was go into uh, airplane. Well, I said I didn't have a phone mount, but I actually do. It's kind of pointed at an angle, but I was previously using it for the navigation. But since I didn't know that area, I started the day in. But why does the phone know to just put itself in airplane mode and come out of airplane mode? I never understood that. That's all I did. And now we're back online. Very strange. But see, as far as I can tell, the most powerful, phenomenon or whatever you want to call it that we know of, as far as I can tell, is the human mind. You've got one in your skull. You really think you can't decide what to eat on a daily basis? Of course you can. You're choosing not to, which is fine, by the way. I don't care what you eat. But all this, oh, well, I like this and I like that. Who cares what you like? I like all kind of things. So what? Who cares? What's it matter? What's it fucking matter? Meanwhile, I don't care how you live however you want. It's just the idea that, oh, well, I have to do this and that because of this and that. It's like, no, you don't. You're choosing to do this and that because of this and that. It's called circumstance. I used to eat, sometimes I would eat between 3 and 5 Snicker bars at a time. Now I'm no longer able to do that because it makes me sick. So guess who never thinks about eating between 3 and 5 Snicker bars? Surprise, surprise. So I guarantee you, if you just, in your mind, you just say it's not an option, yeah, it'll be difficult at first. Eventually, it'll be easy to just not eat a bunch of junk food. It'll be easy. That's how that works. And see, here's another thing. They don't get to ride my ass and then not pass me when the passing zone comes. and I slow way down. See, they want to stay behind me so they can follow me and look at their phone. They would rather just ride behind me. That's the general public. They want other people to be responsible for them. That's what they want. You're not going to wake them up out of that. It's not going to happen. That's how they want to be. And in a realm based on free will and creative force, they have every right to create that for themselves and live in that. And you have no right to attempt to force them out of that as not appropriate. That's a violation. That's on them if they want to choose to live that way. I have no ability to make these people change. And I would say it's not even appropriate for me to try to get them to change. But Lord knows they'll try to get me to change if they can. Of course they will. Bring me down to their level. See? Well, I don't resonate with that where these people need me to come down to their level for the convenience of how they feel. No, fuck that. I'm living my best life. And that's where some of the arrogance comes in. People might view me as arrogant. So what? I'm confused when other people are not arrogant. I'm like, why aren't you guys arrogant? I don't get it. See if we can cruise in here and get a cup of coffee. I'm going to get to the assessor's office, the county assessor, and pay my property tax. And I've never informed them that there's 2 vehicles that I no longer own that I'm going to pay property tax on, but it's so ridiculously, laughably cheap in Arkansas, it's going to be $30. So who even cares that I haven't informed them previously? But bear with me. I'll be right back, folks. Oh, there's my coffee cup. Thought I forgot it, but I didn't. Yep. He's masking up. Don't wear masks in little country towns. Well, I'm in a little country town in Arkansas. There's a guy put his mask on to go in the store. Good old country boy, presumably. So that's nonsense. Oh, nobody wears a mask where I live. Bullshit. Bullshit. You're just choosing not to see it, or you're not leaving your house. One of the two. Because I don't care what little town in America you go to, somebody's choosing to cover their face. Today. Because I'm in what was once the most jab-resistant county or area of the country. And that's, in fact, when I got hit with the Biden. In Baxter County, Arkansas, which I'm pretty sure I'm in right now, had the highest so-called case rate in the country at the time. It had like double the next highest. And it was all the media was promoting this as the most vaccine-resistant county or area in the country. All the counties that border the Arkansas-Missouri state line, the Ozarks. And see if I can get out of here. Of course, these people are going to turn into this store most likely, but they're not going to signal. Oh, no, they're still going to go on about their way. Looks like. All right. Anyway. Yeah, plenty of masks, even in little town America. I don't want to hear it. Oh, nobody. Bullshit. Yes, they do. Most don't. Some do. Kind of lost my train of thought going in the store there. Now, this area is unusual for Arkansas because you can, unlike most of the state, they sell liquor on Sundays here. And not just beer. You can actually, liquor stores are actually open in this area on Sunday, which is highly unusual for the state of Arkansas. There's some towns that opened it up over time to where you could buy, like, you can go to the grocery store and buy beer, but not the liquor store. Like Springdale, Arkansas is that way, but Fayetteville, Arkansas, the neighboring town in northwest Arkansas, no Sunday sales, unless you go to a restaurant, of course. Apparently, Jesus is not offended if you go to a restaurant to consume your alcohol. Don't take it home. Then you can just drive to Springdale and get it. Funny how that works. Good to see you, Freedom Grower. Yeah, Utah, yeah, there's definitely liquor available. It's just, I was there years ago in a former life when I was in IT. I worked for a company. We used to go to these college bookstores. In fact, me and another guy installed a point of sale and inventory management system in a college bookstore in Cedar City, Utah, Southern Utah University. And I remember you could get beer. It was just like, I think it was that 3-2 beer back then. And you kind of had to, I can't remember, but there was some sort of convoluted process. But I don't think we were even that interested in drinking at the time. And my coworker actually somehow, this was very unusual for the late 90s. He had a hookup on some really strong, what we called kind bud. He brought a very small amount with him on the plane. I think he put it in with his tools and stuff. And we got high the whole fucking time we were there. Me and him did. Like after work, of course. Oh, not very much. Very small amount. I was surprised because I was a pretty big pothead even back then. And then that was an indoor grow in Bella Vista, Arkansas. And eventually it got busted because some bozo that knew about it got arrested on unrelated charges and just told the cops about the grow. And then it was over with for that. People ruin everything, right? Anyway, I may drop the link, although I think I may shut it down because the signal's getting kind of shitty. And yeah, I got one bar.